It's game day, the last non-conference game of the season, and the Tar Heels are playing their lowest-ranked opponent of the season. So what exactly will Coach Hubert Davis be looking to get out of his team?
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, what's up? It's Friday, December 29th, 2023. Welcome into the Locked On Tar Heels podcast, the only daily North Carolina show out there. I'm your host, Isaac Shea. Joining me this week on Friday, because my schedule's all wacky, is Coach Bill Robinson, the head basketball coach at Milligan University. We want to thank you everydayers for joining us to make Locked On Tar Heels your first listen or watch to get your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON to get $20 off your first purchase. If you're a visitor, if you're a guest, you're new here, welcome in. We're glad you're here. Come join us in the Locked On Tar Heels Discord, where we're talking Carolina all the time. The link for that, you can find it in the show notes. All right, Coach, we're getting here to New Year's Eve weekend. Excited for that. Hopefully you got some big time plans. I'm sure you're throwing like some kind of blowout party. No, I'm just kidding. I'm doing good to stay up till midnight, if we're being honest, on New Year's, Coach. But where we're going today is we got a basketball game before we get to all that. So Coach and I are going to get you ready for that on today's show. We'll have our Four Corners preview. We're going to have story time with Coach. That'll be exciting. But before we get there, Coach, I want to have a conversation with you about the fact that Charleston Southern, with all due respect to them, is the lowest rated team that Carolina will play all season. Right now, they are 4-8. They've got one win against Division I opponents. They're currently ranked 338th at KenPom. That said, what is it that you're looking for to do against a team like this? Knowing it's your last non-conference game, but knowing it's a team of this caliber, how do you get the guys' attention? If you're Hubert Davis, how do you approach it?
Yeah, there's a couple things we really want to talk about. Charleston Southern, first of all, they lost their coach mid-season.
That's right.
Barkley with the ball is actually a good friend of mine. Played against him a couple times. A great guy, loved Jesus, just a wonderful, man of God. And a great coach. And it's tough to see your coach leave in the middle of the year. Their last game was against Kentucky Christian, which is one of the teams in our league. Right. And again, you said they've won 3 games that were non-Division I games. So it's a tough situation. And it's their last game, non-conference, before they hit conference, their opponents too. So it's kind of the same, but yet different. But I would love to see, Carolina go into this with a worker's mentality. And to know that this is better than a practice. This is obviously a big stage, and for them to have an opportunity to play a lesser opponent, that they don't need to show anything new that they're going to do, but at the same time, maybe work on some things that they haven't had a chance to work on, and maybe extend their defensive repertoire a little bit.
That's a great way to put that, Coach. Defensive repertoire. I love it. And part of this is you look at what this game is sandwiched in between, because the Tar Heels are coming off that stretch where they had played 5 ranked teams in 6 games, the other of which was Florida State to open ACC play. And then you look immediately after this, and it's 3 straight road games to open up the main chunk of ACC play at Pitt, at Clemson, at NC State. And so, when you think about that and knowing that you have this in between, I think people are like, it's a letdown. But Coach, this is a critical, important game in the schedule that should not be overlooked. Why is it important to have games like this as part of your schedule?
I think it's important to have games like this because you want something positive. You want to be able to go out there and play well together. You want to be able to extend your bench a little bit and get time for your guys. So there's a lot of things that you can, if you really make it a priority to be able to go out and do some of those things. And then every possession should mean something, because it's stuff you're working on to be able to get better. It's not just go out there and get a win. Obviously we should win a game like this, but sure, it's little things that you can work on to be getting better. And again, you don't want to show a lot of stuff. If you put new sets in over Christmas, this is not the time to show it. But I do think it's time, if they want to work on some zone stuff, if they want to work on some full court trapping, I would love to see that early in the game, because you want to take that any element of losing out immediately. You want to make a big run early. And I think by pressing, trapping, doing some things in the half court will allow that to be something that'd be very beneficial for the guys.
That brings up an interesting thought for me, Coach. Is I know, and somebody like Hubert Davis in particular is very mindful of sportsmanship and not embarrassing an opponent or a coach. Is that something you let an opposing coach know? Like, hey, look, I know this is a bye game. I know we're going to win this basketball game. I just want to let you know we're not trying to run up the score. We're just trying to work on some things to help our guys get better. Do you let your opposing coach know that ahead of time?
I don't. I
Okay.
don't think that it's necessarily a good maybe after, but not
Okay.
because you don't want that guy to use that pregame to be able to say, hey, they're already saying they're going to win and they're going to work on stuff. But I've been in a game on the other side where we played a Division I game and I knew it was going to get out of control and I knew we didn't have a chance to win. And then during a timeout, I'd walk down to one of the assistants I know and say, hey, what do you want us to work on? What do you want to work on? We've got
One of
everything.
your assistants?
Yeah, I've actually, on the losing side, knowing that we're going to get hammered, walk down and say, hey, I know, this has not been great. I know it's going to get out of control here. Do you want us to play zone? Do you want us to trap? Do you want us to play 1-3-1? Do you want to go 3-2? We can go do anything you want us to do. Tell me what you want us to work on. And they'll give you a little strange look at first, and then they'll say, hey, we need to work on. And then they would tell us exactly what they want us to go to. And then it's beneficial for all of us. Then we're able to work on maybe some stuff we're not necessarily ready to work on. And yet they're able to work on stuff that will help them down the road.
I like that. And it gets buy-in from your entire staff. It's not just you being an authoritarian dictator and coming down from your ivory tower to say, here's what we're doing. I like that, Coach. Now, here's another wrinkle in this game is you're just coming off of Christmas break, just heading into New Year's. And so I know the guys, the players' minds are oftentimes anywhere but basketball, even though they're on the court. And it's just, it's the nature of the beast when you're dealing with 18 to 22-year-olds. Not only that, but the caliber of opponent you're playing. How would you go about making sure I've got your attention for this game and I'm getting out of you what I need to get out of you?
Yeah, I think it's time to challenge guys individually, not just the team. But I'm going to go to RJ and say, hey, listen, hey, Armando, you're our two best players. What can you do to help our team? You know what you can do? Go out there and push this lead out to 15, 20 early at halftime. And let's bury this team. Let's have it by 30, 35 come the 35-minute mark of the game. So that last 5 minutes, you're going to give that last 5 minutes to the Rob Landrys, the Creighton Lebos. We want to see Big James maybe get some minutes and see if he can do some stuff. But give the opportunity for some of those guys who don't get the chance to play, but they practice every day and they're given 100% and really pushing the team every day. Let's give them their 5 minutes instead of their 30 seconds. In a game like this, because Creighton Lebo can shoot it. Rob Landry can shoot it. James can go in there and be dominant in the post. Let's give those guys an opportunity to shine for a game that, who knows when those guys will get back on the floor again. So let's challenge RJ. Let's challenge Armando to push that lead out early to reward their teammates, their friends that they love so much, and give them that last 5 minutes of the game.
And that said, that makes me almost think of like, as I start to think about rotations and units and groupings of players, is it important to keep your rotations the same? Is it good to try some different groupings, or does that kind of mess with the juju of what you've been doing?
No, I think this is a great time to start messing with lineups a little bit. And maybe you find a diamond in the middle of it all. But I don't think you want to throw a bunch of new X and O stuff. But I think throwing new lineups and throwing, and maybe throw James in the game early with, some of the starting group, or maybe throw, play some guys maybe a little different positions just to be able to see what would happen. Maybe go a big lineup. Maybe put Harrison at the 2, or maybe maybe put Cormac at the 1 for a little bit just to see how he handled running the team, just in case those situations happen where somebody goes down with an ankle or somebody gets some foul trouble. You have somebody who's been there a little bit and had an opportunity to run the team.
Dude, when you said a big lineup, here's where my head went. You said Cormac at the 1. How about this? Cormac at the 1, Harrison Ingram at the 2, Jae'lyn Withers at 3, Jalen Washington at 4, and Mondo at 5. That is a jumbo package. We could get that Eagles brotherly shove out of that, Coach. I think that's brilliant. Because you don't want to disrespect or embarrass your opponent, but it does because of how where Charleston Southern is with their season. You can afford to try some of those things, and why not, and I think that's probably fun for the guys, like I train like bands is a lot of what I do in my work at my college, and it's like sometimes I'll let them try out different instruments just to have fun and enjoy it. I think that's fun for the team, and so I love that opportunity. Well, Coach, we've talked some about what you're looking to get out of a game like this. Next, we want to move to our Four Corners preview to say, all right, here's 4 critical things we're looking for the Tar Heels to do as they prepare to move into ACC play. So we're going to have that conversation in just a second. Right after I tell you that this episode of Locked On Tar Heels is brought to you by Game Time. Hey, maybe you missed out on an opportunity to get a last-minute Christmas gift for someone special. Well, good news, you're in luck with Game Time, because now you can make it up to them by buying a last-minute ticket to a big-time conference matchup, or maybe the CFP semifinal coming up on New Year's Eve, because Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, theater, whatever that you need. They've got killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, view from your seat, and their best price guarantee. Game Time has exactly what you need. Let's be honest, you shouldn't have to worry when you're buying tickets to your next big event, and thankfully, Game Time's got you covered. Hot deals on tickets right up to the start of the event. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off that first purchase. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Terms apply. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right, Coach, let's get to our Four Corners preview. North Carolina versus Charleston Southern tonight, Friday, December 29th on ACC Network. The FanDuel line isn't out yet, but at KenPom, it has the Tar Heels in this game by 30. Coach, that's a big old fat spread. And again, based on the kind of rocky and tumultuous things that have been going on for Charleston Southern, it's kind of expected. So that said, Coach, let's get to our Four Corners preview. What are 4 things you and I are specifically looking for from the Tar Heels to accomplish in this game? Why don't you start?
Big thing for me is turnovers. When you play an opponent that's not maybe at the same caliber you're at, you don't want to turn the basketball over, even if you're playing fast, even if you're being super aggressive. This is a game I'd go in with Elliot and RJ and say, 0 turnovers. Make great decisions. Let's not have any turnovers tonight, and challenge them to just take care of the basketball in a way. If they get shots every time down the floor, they're going to win by 30 or more. So we can't turn the ball over. We can't give them opportunities in transition. We just have to make sure we take care of the basketball. So that's where I start. I start with those 2 guys and just say, hey, no turnovers, either one of you. That's the goal for tonight.
Oh, I love that challenge, Coach, of like getting in their face. Hey, RJ, Elliot, come here. Let's have a little huddle and talk about this. That's perfect, Coach. Well, number 2 in our Four Corners preview, and it's funny you talk about Elliot because that's what I wanted to look at. This game to me is a moment for Elliot Cadeau in particular to set the tone for the rest of his freshman season. Part of that is turnovers. Part of it is, all right, buddy, this is your team to run. As we head into ACC play, you got to start thinking the mentality of, I'm not a freshman. I'm a critical part of this team. I'm a dude. I'm running this team. I'm running the flow of it. So this for me is a big leadership game for Elliot, where he can really step up and step in, control the pace, run the show, make things happen for his team. One of the big things I talked about all preseason was that Elliot Cadeau was going to be able to do massive things to help Armando Bacot. And while that's still true, I think the person that's actually benefited most from Elliot is RJ, who you just talked about. And we've seen this ridiculous streak that RJ's on. I wouldn't be surprised if that continues on tonight. But for Elliot to continue to find the right guys at the right place, set them up to win. That's the second in our Four Corners preview. All right, Coach, what's number 3 in our Four Corners preview?
Number 3 for me is defensive field goal percentage. If again, we're playing against a team here who's not as good as we are, we have to be able to defend. We have to be able to keep that field goal percentage got to be under 40% for the game. I'd love to see it in the mid-30s. And of course, finishing off those possessions with rebounding, that would be, kind of tied in with those two together. But um, everything should be hard for Charleston Southern. Every shot should be contested. Every play should be tough. There should be no transition, fast break points, and there shouldn't be a whole lot of points in the paint. So make it hard. Make them push out to harder, tougher shots. Deep threes contested and grab those rebounds will allow us to run. And I think that's a huge key for me. Defensive field goal percentage.
I love that because we we all know this Carolina offense is elite. There are ways they can still get better, but they're top 10 offense in the nation right now. The defense is where the challenge needs to be, and as we know, defense feeds offense. And so, in the same way you're challenging the backcourt to not have any turnovers, I love this. How are we just bothering everything that Charleston Southern does and makes it extremely difficult? Great one, Coach. All right, number 4 in our Four Corners preview. Here it is for me. Earlier, you talked about, kind of loving your teammates and getting 5 minutes instead of 30 seconds for those guys on the bench. And that is a critical thing I'm watching for, is what level of bench production is there? Who is going to come off the bench in this game tonight and be a dude? Who's going to continue to force the coaching staff to play them because of just how connected they are? And I think we've seen that already from Seth Trimble, so maybe I wouldn't include him as much with this group as the others, but I think the 3 I'm thinking about in particular are the Jae'lyns and Zayden. I want to see what that trio in particular offers in this game. I want to see, for example, Zayden come in and just continue to offer that same level of just high impact energy that he's bringing. I want to see Jae'lyn Withers do that, but under control. Like, how are you doing the things that your role does importantly? How does Jalen Washington come in and maybe do some things he hasn't done yet this year? Really kind of dominate some possessions through rebounding or the defensive intensity that you were talking about, Coach. And so for me, the 4th thing in our Four Corners preview is bench production. Coach, anything else kind of in that realm? I know we've already hit our 4, but anything you hadn't said about this game that you wanted to hit on before we get to story time?
2 real quick things. Of course, I'm biased towards Paxson Wojcik. I'd love to see him have a breakout game. And I think it's just confidence with him right now. And I think if he could see a shot or 2 go in, I think that could be very beneficial going forward. The other thing is I'd love to see Elliot Cadeau's, he's a 5th option scoring wise. He's important, maybe the most important guy on offense, but he doesn't look to score. I'd love to see him make a shot or 2 and see his confidence grow. I saw some comments about, hey, I know Elliot can shoot it. Just trust me. There were some comments in the line from last week. I know he can shoot too. I've seen him make shots. I've seen him make tough shots. And I think right now, I just love to see his confidence grow with seeing 3 or 4 shots go down in a game and knowing that, man, if you got to guard all 5 guys on the floor, it just makes us that much more dangerous.
I love both of those, Coach. Yes, a great breakout for Paxson and Elliot getting the ball up to the rim. Way to go. Love that. Now, friends, what a perfect way. There is no better way to end Christmas week than by story time with Coach. A little cozy way to wrap up the week as you get ready for this game. So we're going to head to that in just a second. Right after I tell you that this episode of Locked On Tar Heels is brought to you by FanDuel. As the weather gets colder, the NFL offers stay hot on FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. That's $150 if your team wins. So if you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on that action than right now. Their app is really easy to use, and they've got all sorts of options for you, like player props, spreads, over-unders, things like the Wooden Award watch. And how about this? We all know that Zach Edey is the front runner, the odds-on consensus to win this thing. But how about our guy, RJ Davis, who has entered the Wooden Award conversation and right now has the 7th best odds? Coach, that is bonkers. And I don't even think we would have guessed that ahead of the season. So right now, Zach Edey is minus 200. RJ sitting there at plus 5,000. Crazier things have happened, folks. You might want to get in on that. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and get in also on the NFL action this season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. All right, folks, we're wrapping up today's show with story time with Coach Rob. For those who are new or haven't had one of our story times before, Coach Rob is a 2-decade veteran of the Carolina Summer Basketball Camp. He's been working on putting a book together, compiling stories from all these years and all the crazy shenanigans that go on at Carolina Basketball Camp in the summer. So each week, Coach is so gracious to share one of those stories with us. And so, Coach, I'm going to hand it over to you. I'm going to pretend like I got my little cup of hot chocolate here, and I'm going to snuggle in to listen.
Well, it's been a couple tough weeks for the Carolina faithful with Eric passing. So I want to do something fun today. Christmas this week, obviously, too. So we want to enjoy this maybe the last story of the year. But I want to talk about, again, Huey Donahue. We've talked the charge on the bus and some of the great stories. His dad played for Coach Smith, and he played JV for Coach Williams when Coach Williams was a JV coach. But he's run a gym for years. And one of the things you do as a gym head at camp is at the start of camp, that the athletic trainer comes with a list of all the kids in your gym that have some kind of medical issue, whether it's asthma or whether the kid has an EpiPen or whether he's got, all these different things. Well, the trainer pulled Huey over one year privately, like not in front of everybody else. He says, "Hey, I need to talk to you about this one kid." So they had this conversation, and Huey's face turns all kinds of, strange. Oh my gosh. So his staff is watching, wondering what in the world's going on. So he goes over and says, "Guys, we've got a kid in our gym this week that's got webbed feet." And they're like, "What?" He goes, "He has webbed feet. So we were told, whatever we do, make sure this kid does not take his shoes and socks off. We don't want to embarrass this kid. Whatever you do not let this kid take his shoes and socks off." Well, he has a competition every year or every week of what, crazy weird skill that you have. And if you win, you win a milkshake. And you got kids who can belch the alphabet, or kids that, can put their legs behind their head or something funny like that. So they're going through this, all these different competitions, and this kid raises his hand and he says, "Can I talk to you?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure." He says, "Coach, I've got webbed feet." He's like, "What?" He goes, "I've got webbed feet, and I will show them, but if I'm going to show them, I have to guarantee that I'm going to get milkshake for 5 of my friends, not just me, but for 5. So he's negotiating to be able to show his feet. Well, now Huey doesn't know what to do because he's been told not to let this kid. So he goes to his staff and says, "What do we do? What do we do?" He says, let the kid wants to show his web feet, let him show his web feet. So sure enough, kid pulls out the web feet and shows them, and he wins the competition, obviously, and Huey ends up giving him 5 milkshakes. But one of the kids at the end of it raises his hand and says, "Hey, Coach." Yeah, he goes, "How do I get web feet?" But that was one of the absolute craziest stories found. And this is how it all ties into the rest of the story, as Paul Harvey would say. The kid's mom was a All-American swimmer at Carolina, and she also had webbed feet, and it actually helped her in the pool. And I think she may have even made the Olympic trials or something. And more ironically is that she went to school with Huey. So he knew her, he knew the mom. So when the kid started talking about it, he's, "What's your name?" Told him, and then put the pieces back together and found out that not only did this kid have webbed feet, but his mom was an Olympic swimmer, and, she went to Carolina and knew Huey. So one of the absolute craziest stories. And again, it would only happen to Huey. Nobody else would give the opportunity for this kid to take his shoes off. But the webbed feet kid will have he's a legendary figure in Carolina camp history.
Well, not only that, he's a shrewd businessman, apparently, negotiating those extra milkshakes. It sounds like something straight out of Coach, have you seen Shawshank Redemption?
Absolutely.
Yeah, you know how they have to tar the roof of the thing, and Andy Dufresne's like, "Yeah, I just want some beers for all my guys up here." And that's what our friend, the Webbed Foot Wonder, is doing for his buddies with the milkshakes.
We need to find out where he is now. I mean, what's he doing for a business? What's he doing for a life? He's probably some shrewd businessman making millions of dollars. But what an amazing story.
Gosh, I loved it. Coach, that's a great one. Thank you so much for sharing it. I love to hear it. Oh, you guys, what a great way to end the week here on Locked On Tar Heels. Big thanks, as always, to Coach for being with us ahead of the New Year's weekend. Folks, I hope that you have a healthy, happy, and safe New Year's. Can't wait to hear what kind of New Year's resolutions everyone's getting into. I'm probably just not going to make any because such is life. But anyway, if you want to, come join the Locked On Tar Heels Discord. We have great conversation over there all the time. Great things are happening. Also, if you want to email the show, lockedontarheels@gmail.com. Please subscribe to the show on video and audio, rate and review us. That helps so much. 5 stars, talk about why you love the show. If you're watching on YouTube, please smash the like button so we know you are here. Want to remind you that it's always a great day to be a Tar Heel. We'll talk again on Monday, but until then, peace.